Good morning, you guys, it's Karen, and I wanted to come and talk to you about the law of attraction and love and relationships. I'm so grateful for how much you're enjoying these videos and how much you're getting from them. That really means something to me. I'll let you into a secret. I've always had a kind of burning ambition to be a motivational speaker, but it's something that I've never thought that I was good at. I think that I'm good at giving advice to people, and I think I would probably be a good life coach, but I don't feel that I articulate things very well. So the last video I did on the law of attraction was all about money, and kind of as I was editing it and afterwards I was like, oh, I feel a bit weird about the fact that I really only spoke about money in the law of attraction videos. And that also, when I thought about that video, I was like, well, that seems really materialistic. Like, I wanted a sofa, I wanted a holiday, and I randomly wanted a lump sum of cash to do things with. And it just seemed really self-indulgent. But I have found the law of attraction has worked for me in many other ways. And relationships is a big one for me. And I don't think it's something I've mentioned. I've talked about my dad, but I've not talked too much about myself. Let me start by telling you about my now husband, Kev. I met him when I was 30, 2002, so 17 years ago, and we had a whirlwind romance. We got engaged. We were together then for about 10 months, and then he ended it. He decided it was all over. We were living together at the time. It was absolutely devastating. Thankfully, we hadn't spent any money on the wedding, but we had just booked a venue, so I had to cancel that. I remember I had to cancel. I had a dress appointment, my first dress appointment in the next couple of days, and my boss, actually, bless her, she was amazing, she cancelled it for me because I was too upset. It was just awful. It was really awful, but we stayed friends. He is such a good guy, and although, you know, a lot of my family were annoyed at him, it was the right thing to do. I didn't blame him at all, because basically it had all moved too fast and we were living in each other's pockets. He wasn't concentrating on his hobbies. He was a softball player, and I would go with him to softball games. I wasn't reading my books and doing, having my own time at home. We were just literally constantly together, and we hadn't ever had any breathing space. So we remained friends, and in fact he helped me. I bought a house as a doer-upper, and he helped me do it up. So we remained friends. We got back together again. We were then together for 9 years before he proposed, so 10 years before we got married. And for those whole 9 years, I wanted to be engaged. I was waiting to be engaged again. I think because I knew that marriage he wasn't a commitment phobe, because he had proposed to me the first time, and I knew that he was probably a bit nervous about going through that again with me, but I just felt like I was just waiting patiently, but I wasn't really patient at all. I really, really wanted it, and it would upset me, and I would talk to my friend about it over lunch, and be like, is it ever going to happen? And if he doesn't want to marry me, then what's the point? Because it's not that I particularly believe in marriage, but I at least wanted to be engaged, funny enough. Maybe you'll understand that. I think I just wanted him to want to marry me, whereas I could probably be okay without officially getting married. I just wanted him to want to marry me again. But I wasn't ever going to be that type of person that would pressure him, say, right, we get married or we're getting married. I think I would make comments here and there. And he didn't really ever say much, so I wasn't sure what his reasons were, if he ever intended to propose, So I wrote to the universe, and I wrote a letter for, the life that I wanted, and it was along the lines of one of my thank you letters that I've talked about before, and it was, thank you for my amazing relationship. We're going from strength to strength. We're now engaged and planning our wedding, and I think I talked about a honeymoon. And it's funny because I remember when I wrote it thinking, I actually can't imagine it, even though, you're supposed to write something and really feel it. But I couldn't imagine. I just felt like that was it with Kev. He'd done it once and he was put off because we didn't work out the first time. But I mean, we were completely different in our kind of second relationship, if you like. We were completely different. But I thought, that's it. I've put him off. He's never going to want to get married. And so I just kind of put it to the back of my mind. I put it on this letter, which I think again was in a book, and just kind of put it away and didn't think about it. I didn't think about the letter. I still always thought about engagements, because we went to New York and I thought, oh, perhaps he'll do it there, you know, because I think we ended up having a couple of conversations, because my friend got engaged. I think she got engaged maybe 6 months to a year before me. And that really upset me, actually, because it really made me, I was so happy for her, but I was also in that kind of self-pity, like, why doesn't this happen to me? You know, this amazing surprise proposal kind of thing. I told her about it, of course. You know, she's my best friend. We talk about everything. And I think I had probably said it to Kev, and he was like, I can't actually remember what he said, but I think he gave me an answer that made me think it would happen one day, you know, that he wasn't opposed to it. I thought, Kev is not the type of person that does things immediately. That's me. I'm the person that if you tell me I need to do something, I get it done immediately. Whereas Kev will put it off and sometimes just forget. You know, like if I want something done around the house, I have to put him a little note and ask him when he's going to do it, you know, and it's not like he's okay with that. It's not in a nagging way, like that's an agreement we have, that he says you need to remind me because I'll just forget it, you know. And so I thought to myself, well, okay, so he's not opposed to it, and it's something he's going to do when he gets around to it, but because it's probably not that important to him, I don't know when he'll get round to it. But then I sort of think more positively and think, well, maybe he will do it. Maybe he's waiting for the opportunity for us to do something nice that, you know, would be a nice place to do it. So like I said, we went to New York, and I was thinking maybe there, but then I was like, well, he has no clue what kind of ring I'd like, and, you know. But we happened to look in Tiffany's. We had a look in Tiffany's, and we were looking at watches, jewelry, all sorts of things, and I thought this is the perfect time to show him the kind of ring that I think I would like, you know. And so I did. But that also made me think, well, it's probably not going to happen now in New York then. So it didn't happen in New York. We went to Rome. It didn't happen in Rome. And I was just like, oh, okay, I really just need to give up on this idea. The universe hasn't listened, you know, it's not going to happen. Then we decided to go away for the weekend to Glasgow, to a really, really posh hotel. But it's something that we occasionally did anyway. But he said he was sorting this weekend out, and we went to this, I can't remember the name of the hotel now, but begins with B, what is it? Weddings that happen there and whatnot, you know, and it had a spa. And like I said, we often went through to Glasgow for the weekend and just went out for dinner, had a few drinks, stayed in a hotel. It was just something to do. We didn't have Watson at the time, obviously. So I went and had a bath, had an amazing bathroom. I went and had a bath, and you know, to get ready for my evening meal. I got out of the bath, dried, put a robe on, and then went through into the bedroom, and I kind of had a feeling something might be happening, but I wasn't sure. He had put out rose petals all over the bed, and then these heart-shaped boxes. One said will you, one said marry, one said me, and he was there on the bed asking me. So it was amazing. And it's still a standing joke actually now that, you know, we went to New York, we went to Rome, but you chose Glasgow, you know. But I think it was just, like I said, he's somebody to do things in his time, and New York wasn't the time for him. Rome wasn't the time for him. You know, he needed to save up for the ring. So it was fantastic. And I then happened to read my Dear Universe letter at some point. I can't remember. It wasn't immediately afterwards, but at some point during the year that I was planning the wedding, you know, I read it, which was saying our relationship has got stronger and stronger. We're now planning a wedding. And so that was really, really surprising to me. I was really surprised because, like I said, I just had a fear that it would never happen. So I wanted to tell you that story because the biggest thing you should do with the law of attraction is feel it, really try to believe it. I suppose that's the word, but not force it, you know. So like I always say, I wasn't going to put pictures up of wedding dresses and things because I didn't want to frighten Kev, you know. And so I think I just didn't really believe it was going to happen, but it did. So it shows you that the law of attraction can work in lots of different ways. Actually, talking about the law of attraction, a funny story, when Kev and I split up, and like I said, I was devastated that first time, I actually did a spell to get him back again. And so I guess that worked as well. And when I think about it now, that's kind of a law of attraction type thing. I just had an interest in I wouldn't say witchcraft. There was another name for it, which I can't even think about, but it was something more light-hearted than that, you know, and you did this sort of spell, which was more like meditating. But it was to get him back, and sure enough, that happened. He came back to me. It wasn't even me asking him. Like, he phoned me one night when he was drunk and was like, I still love you. There, I've said it. But then he kept on saying that. It was so funny. And he came back to mine, and we were kind of back together again, and it was all great. The second story is about my dad. My dad has an interesting life, let's say that, he's done lots of dating. He's been engaged. He's been in a lot of relationships, and many times been engaged. Things went horribly wrong when my stepmom left him, which was... Kev met her, and they were still together when I met Kev, so it was probably 12, 13 years ago. And since then, it's been really difficult for me. There's been some really, really hard times. I won't go into it all, but my dad is somebody that needs to be in a relationship. He doesn't do well on his own at all. He's not happy on his own. He's very depressed. And so I have, over the years, tried to help him in all sorts of ways I've actually even done the kind of Sleepless Seattle, like I've set him up a dating profile. I've chatted to lots of women and said, you know, listen, I'm doing this on behalf of my dad, but let me tell you about him, because he also struggles to type on a computer. And there have been relationships, but they've ended, and then I've worried about him so much over the years. And so another thing in my Dear Universe letter was that my dad is, you know, in a good relationship, but actually it's more recent, the Dear Universe letter, it said that my dad is now happily married. It's so nice to see him in that situation. But when I read that, my dad is now happily married, I read it a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh, well, that nearly happened, but it didn't happen, because he was going to marry this lady, and then it all went horribly wrong, and it was just awful. And I was like, so I guess, you know, the universe we nearly got there, kind of thing. And I didn't like throw that letter away or anything. I kept it. And then through his own, I don't even know how we met Eve, but it was online. It was through some Christian, I think a Christian dating site. So for the first time, not me meddling and me finding him women, if you like, he met this lady, and he is now married. He is now happily married. They've just celebrated their first year's anniversary. You guys know there's actually a video up on, I think it's on Mrs. Ginger and her dog, of me at my dad's wedding, me giving a speech and whatnot. And I more recently looked at that letter again and was like, well, the universe did achieve it. It needed to be the right person in the right time, you know, which is something else to remember about the law of attraction, that it might not be in your time scale. There might be reasons why whatever you want doesn't happen immediately, and that, you know, there might be a reason, there might be a lesson. There's always a reason that something happens. So relationship wise, the law of attraction worked for myself, and it also worked for me, for my dad, if that makes sense. You know, that's what I wanted for him. And I always thought, you know, oh, well, I'm writing it down. And so then I would get the idea of, oh, I could go on a dating site. And so I thought, well, that's how it's worked. The law of attraction is making me think of ideas of how my dad can meet people. But actually it ended up him doing it. But whether or not the idea of the dating site spurred him on to go onto this, I think it was called Christian Cafe, and just chat to people, I don't know, but it worked anyway. So if you are looking for love, or somebody you know is looking for love, or you want to get married, then that's something that you can ask the universe for. That's something you can manifest. It's something you can write to the universe and ask for. You can either write as if you've already had it and explain in detail everything that's gone on. If you are single, then you could definitely, you know, use a mood board, and as long as you're not inviting anybody back, put it somewhere secret where they can't see it. You don't want them to think you're crazy. Or you don't want to put them off. I don't think they think you're crazy, but you know what guys are like. So if you are single, or and want to meet somebody, or you want to get married, or somebody you know, you want them to have a new partner, it is something you can use the law of attraction for. Write a letter to the universe. You can use a mood board, but it's not something I would suggest using necessarily for this, just because you don't want to, I don't know, I suppose you don't want, if you want to be married, like I said, when it was me, you don't necessarily want your partner to see it. Maybe you do. Maybe that would be the thing that would spur them on. You can definitely act as if, you know, you can look at wedding dresses, you can look at engagement rings, you can think about whether you want to change your name, you can practice writing your name. They're things that kind of, I think a lot of women do that, you know. It's certainly not something I did with Kev because I don't like his surname. It took me ages to change my name. So I hope that was interesting to you. But put another one up that wasn't about money to show that you can use this kind of in every area of your life. And I will put one up about health as well, because I've definitely had results in the area of health. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon.